What is going on, everybody? This is episode 59 of the Standing Eight podcast. I'm Aaron Sorial, joined by my usual suspect, Courtney Tanner. Um, Unfortunately, Tommy Rush and Michael Gomes are not in at the moment. Hopefully, they'll be patching in. But aside from that, we got a very good friend. I want to say um, his professional name correctly because we always refer to him as Eddie, but it's Eduardo El Dorado Sanchez, man, from Corcoran, California. 5 professional fights in. Me and Courtney were so blessed to be at your debut back in Fresno in March 2018. Before we get into the nitty gritty of your last fight at the bubble, just tell us how you been. How's day to day life been for you, man?
It's been pretty much the same, man. Just training and work, and then just staying focused and staying ready for our next fight that's coming up, man. We're just trying to stay. I think from our last performance that we put out, we brought a lot of attention, man. We get constantly weekly calls, to fight again. So we're trying to stay. We're trying to get down to the right weight so we can come back, man, strong and put on another show.
Right on, right on. And again, before we talk about your exciting fight on ESPN, um, your 5 fights in, and to go from to fighting in your debut at the local stage to now fighting on national television within those 5 fights within a relatively short span. Speak on that experience, that moment, that fast momentum that you experienced in these in that short amount of time.
Sorry, man. I lost
Oh,
you
no worries.
for the last part, man. I couldn't hear the last
I'll
part.
repeat it. Before we get
Sorry.
into your last fight, you're 5 foot, you're 5 fights in already. Speak on the fast track that you went from fighting in Fresno in 2018 to making it to the big stage, national television on ESPN. Speak on that fast trajectory from point A to point B in such a relatively short amount of time. Speak on that experience.
Yeah, well, I mean, we all know what's going on with the pandemic going on, and although it's a very difficult times and crazy times, it was a blessing in disguise for us, man, because us fighters that are trying to come up and make a name for ourselves, this was the opportunity to put ourselves out there and for the world to see. And I knew, I mean, not to be bragging about myself, I felt like as a fighter, I'm a very entertaining fighter, and I knew that if I get the world to see me, that they will like, Eduardo or Dorado Sanchez. um, so I'll when they called us and hit us up for the fight, man, me and my trainer were like, man, this is the opportunity for us to go out there and do this, man. And we went out there, man, and we were very very happy with the performance. As far as like transition, um, it was just more of the attention we got now after that, man. It's like very very like a lot of promoters are hitting us up now on a weekly basis, like I was mentioning earlier, and we're just kind of like, man, we're just waiting for the right matchup and the right fight, and really we're trying to get down to a weight where we feel like we're gonna be stronger and come out there and because right now they're still looking at us as the, you can quote unquote, the B side. So they're throwing us out there some undefeated fighters, but I feel like if I go out there 100%, I know I can beat these one of these guys.
Right on, right on. Would it be fair to say that lightweight is right now your home weight for the time being? Would that be a fair assessment at this
Yeah,
point in
one.
your career?
Yep, yep. But we're trying to come down to 130, man. 130 and 132. I feel like that's our most strongest of fights that we had. I mean, I guess we're talking a little bit of the amateurs, but that's where I felt like I was the strongest at 130. I was able to do more damage, and so that's what we're looking at. What would that be? Super featherweight?
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you would think in that specific division, your um, your your talents and strengths would be highlighted even better in that weight division. So
I
that's
agree.
yeah,
And another thing too is like I feel like even at 135, I feel like I would be good at this too. But uh, if we had more rounds, I've been telling my trainer and I, we finally decided that we're gonna push. We want 6 rounds from here on out because I feel like me as a fighter, I do need more time to like let loose, especially when you're coming in as a B side fight, man. I mean, I hate that categorize myself as that, but that's what I come in as a B side fighter, and you need to start fast because these guys, if you don't show the judges that you come here to win, then they're automatically, I feel like they're giving the rounds to the other guy. And that's specifically my last fight. I went in there, and I'm gonna just touch a little bit on it. I feel like I started a little too giving up too much, my distance, and although I didn't feel like he really hit me with anything, I feel like it looked, even just landing, getting hit in the gloves was something kind of like, oh man, like, it grabs attention. But yeah,
Right on,
like
right
one
on.
of the biggest things, like we want to add more rounds to our career. I think we're ready for that. It's time for our careers to step up and do something like that.
Before we get into that fight with Kenny Davis Jr., I want to give Courtney the opportunity if he has any questions for you specifically. So, Courtney, you have anything to add for Eddie?
Hey, first off, El Dorado, man, or as I like to call you, hashtag Landa Futura. Hey, thank you so much for being on the show once again. Thank you so much for being a day one on the Standing 8 podcast. And big shout out to to your family, your immediate family, your wife, and your two boys, your two good looking sons, good looking family. And shout out to your mom, man. I love that your mom is just your biggest advocate on social media, man. I met her at your debut, and she is just a lovely person, man. You're just a genuinely peace person. Everybody from your wife to your cousins to your aunts and uncles, man. It's just so heartening, and that's one of my favorite boxing memories. I go to a lot of fights. I've been to a lot of fights. Have been around my share of professionals in the game, inside, outside the ring, and personalities within boxing. And I always tell people that's one of my favorite boxing memories since I kind of went on this journey in this endeavor within professional boxing, man. So hey, we're so humbled to have you, and we're just so humbled to have be able to share you with all those people out there in the Central Valley who love you and are just 110% behind you, man.
Hey, thank you so much, Corny, man. I mean, you guys know you guys had a great spot in my heart. You guys are amazing, man. From day one, you guys been there for me since the amateur days, and I'm so glad you were able to be my family. Like you said, my mom, I show this right here because she's the one that went out there and made these posters and stuff of El Dorado, and she made some where you can like it has like a magnet or for the metal, and so she puts them all on her truck that she has, and she's driving around town with that, and people are like, like, I know that guy, and this and that. They're like taking picture of my mom's cars on Snapchat, Instagram. It's awesome, man. She's a beautiful woman. I love her so much. I'm just blessed to have a mother like that I have. She's so supportive, and although the sport is very tough for her to see me do, she still, digs deep in her heart and says, this is what my son wants to do, and she supports me 100.
That's good. That's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. I guess before we get into your last fight, I have a question to start it off. And regarding that fight is, how did you end up getting the call from Top Rank to get on the televised card like you did?
That's a good question, man. I never asked. Well, my trainer always told me like, hey, as soon as you sign that contract or you sign yourself up as a professional boxer, your number's out there. So my trainer's the one that got that call, man. I mean, it was we have a touch with a lot of these like local matchmakers, and those are the ones that we get through to go to top rank. So the guy that we were working with was Joe Lagardo, I believe that's his name, matchmaker, and he's the one that got us that fight out there. And initially they had offered us a 4-0 guy, and we were like, you know what, like again, we're the B side. We're gonna have to take these kind of fights, and we said, yeah, let's do it. And like days before, literally days, I think it was on a Thursday. I think it was. They told us, oh, the guy hurt his hand. He's not gonna fight. And they goes, but we have a last minute fill out, and so they give us that Kenny Davis guy. Yeah, a few days, and then they pushed our because we were supposed to fight Tuesday, and they moved it to Thursday. So they give us a few days. But anyways, yeah, it was just basically out of a matchmaker that contact my trainer.
And shout out to your trainer, Coach Jason Gillespie, and shout out to him and all the work he's doing, not only for you but in the local community out there in the Central Valley out in California, working with the youth out there through these hard times, and working with youths of all backgrounds and all ages, and just basically keeping the kids out of trouble, man. I always say we got to put the gloves up and put the guns down, spread boxing to the youth, and give them positive reinforcement and keep them off the streets and get them in the ring or get them, in a organized and get them in the gyms. And just basically as a sense of belonging, so they can belong to something. And we can use boxing to the betterment of our society and the betterment of people's lives. So shout out to again to Coach Gillespie and big ups.
We can't, Eddie. Yeah. Let's allow him to fix his mic. Can't hear you, Eddie.
And for those watching at home, that's Eddie's. That's his oldest. That's his oldest son.
No. No, can't hear you.
Hey, Eddie, see if you can exit and then come back.
Yeah. So, as we wait for him to come back, you saw the fight. I'm going to play the clip,
Okay.
and then it's basically it's highlights from that fight. It was doctored by Top Rank. Wait, he's back again. Eddie.
Can you guys see me? I left and rejoined. Did that work?
Yeah, we hear
we can hear you good. So you want to introduce us to your little one there?
Oh man, this guy just sneaked in. I don't know where little Eddie. Come on.
Oh.
Say hi,
hey, what's up, little man?
Say hi. Yeah, that's my little one right here. Hey, boxing? Go boxing. Go. Puck. Hey, don't hit me though.
And Eddie, that's your oldest, right?
That's my oldest, yeah.
Okay.
I got another one. I got one. He's just turned 1. His one's already 3. But he look at him. He's already. I think he's gonna be a boxer himself. I'm like, I don't want him to fight.
Eddie
But
Jr. and your youngest is Sterling, right?
No, this was Eddie Sterling Sanchez.
Okay.
The other one's Emerson Rowan Sanchez.
Okay, gotcha.
Hey, mommy.
Yeah. Okay, relax, son.
Hey, mommy.
Relax. Yeah.
Hey, mommy.
And we
Okay,
know
go, mama.
Eddie, we know you're a big Packers fan, so is that middle name inspired by the great Sterling?
You know what? Some of it had to do with that. Yes.
Okay.
My wife came up with that, and then my father-in-law, he's a big Bears fan, but old school guy. He was like, "Hey man, you know that there's a receiver Sterling Sharp in the Packers back in the day, right?" And I was like, "No, I didn't know that." It's like, okay, you know what? I'm accepting now. So, because my wife's the one that came up with, what do you think about a middle name for? Because as you guys know, my name is Eduardo, but I'm known by Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why, well, when I moved into Corcoran, that's where my name came to be to Eddie, because many people couldn't pronounce my name Eduardo, and so, anyways, yeah, that's why I stuck with Eddie, and I gave it's like a junior, but not 100%. So she picked the middle name.
Sterling's a beautiful name, man.
Yeah,
that's a good choice.
So Eddie,
thank you.
We actually have the highlights from your fight with Kenny Davis Jr. So I'm gonna play it on the side. The volume will be low, so you'll be able to talk over it. So as I play this clip, as you watch it, give us your biggest takeaways in the fight. So basically, comment of what you're seeing, basically. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So I'm gonna bring that up.
This was Emerson picture. I do the Eddie. Okay. Wait, Dad.
Go over there, please.
Eddie, Dad.
So here are the highlights with your fight against Kenny Davis Jr. back at the Bubble in July.
Yeah. You guys can hear me, right? Because I got a text. You guys can hear me, right? Okay, yeah. See, this is the first round right here, and that's what I was talking about, where I was kind of like reaching in some of my punches because I was trying to close the distance, and he was able to counter. But then this is the second round where I finally figured him out, where I was like, you know what? Let my hands go and pop this guy. But I felt like, and then throughout this whole second round and the third round, I felt like this is what I finally figured out was, to just let my hands go. And but one thing I did learn from this fight, which is right here, this moment right here, was after punching, like, don't stay in front of your opponent, and that's what I was doing. I was kind of getting a little too comfortable throwing with those combinations, and I paid the price for that. When he caught me to the body, it was because I stayed in there a little too long. And one thing that we've been working on so much right now is just throw a few 5-6 punch combination, and then take a step to the left, or not stay right in front of your opponent. That's one of the biggest things that I definitely learned from this fight was that. Were you guys able to hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we hear you loud and clear, man.
There was a lot of commentary online, specifically YouTube, believing that at the least you should have gotten that drop because of that follow-up hit when you were on the ground. I view that as a very, very arguable case for a disqualification. When the moment that happened, what was going through your mind? Were you not really thinking about it? You were just focused on the next round. What was your mindset at that point?
Man, like I was telling my trainer, man, a lot went through my mind, man, because that punch to the body really hurt. Sorry, let me put this boy out real quick because I want to come here.
Daddy.
Go, mama. Sorry, go, mama. Hey, babe, help me out, please. I apologize.
Oh, no worries at all. He's a future
panelist.
Yeah,
so yeah, no. So I'm sorry. What was the question again? I apologize again.
As I said,
oh yeah, the punch.
The online world, from what I could tell, you at least should have gotten a drop, because in my view, and also many other people thought that follow-up hit when you were already on the canvas on your knee, he came with that follow-up hit. That could have been a very strong case for a disqualification. My question is, what was your mind state at that point? Were you really thinking about, hey, he should have been DQ'd for that, or were you already just thinking about the next round from that point on?
At the very moment, at that exact moment, I remember just like when I got hit with that punch, it was a lot of pain where I was like, am I going to be able to get up from this? Because, for the first 2 seconds that he was counting, I couldn't catch my breath because it was a hard hit. So, it was just a well-placed body punch. And then I just thought about everybody back home. I said, they're all watching me, my mom, my family, my kids. I can't stay down. So I remember just digging deep in my heart and just saying, I need to get back up. And then I just got back up. And then, but as I was going to get up too, like, what am I going to do? Am I going to hold this guy, or am I going to, move, or am I going to try to hit this guy? Because I really didn't know how much time was left. That's the only thing too, is that I had no idea how much time I had left. And I should have, from experience, I should have kind of knew where I was at. But anyways, that's what went through my mind at that moment, and the bell rang right away. So I was just kind of like, I didn't think nothing about like the hit, because as a matter of fact, I really don't remember getting hit. When he hit me in the head, I don't remember getting hit, or I didn't put attention to it, But after I watched the replay, well, that was my answer to how I felt at the moment. At the moment, I had to get up. That's why was in my head. I had to get up. But after watching the replay and seeing this, like, it kind of angered me, because I was like, I could have really been hurt, because I was down for a good second, maybe two, at least for sure a second down. In a second, it's a lot, in a freaking round. But anyways,
Yes,
when he cracked me that hard, man, and the referee didn't even point.
And it was
definitely like you guys say, it could have been a DQ, but
yeah. Was it a liver shot?
Okay, no, yeah, exact? And so yeah, it was a liver shot. It was well, I mean, it was on my right side. I don't know that. I don't know. I didn't do too good in health.
Yeah, me neither.
But, yeah, so it was my right side, man. It got me really, really good. It felt like I explained to people, it felt like a cramp, just like a ball just turning my stomach up, and it was not on the ribs. It was like in my stomach area, the liver. I guess it was a liver shot, and it just balled me up. But
Courtney, any specific questions for Eddie, or any comments you'd like to add?
Well, man, props for getting up from that, man. That's that's a very hard shot to get hit with. Most people I've been watching boxing for years. I've been around the sport pretty much all my life, and very few people get up from shots like that. So, I mean, that demonstrates your mental as a professional fighter, uh, and as a true Mexican warrior from jump. Because,
Yes.
like I said, very few people get up from that shot just because of the anatomy and where the nerves are, and just the function of what the liver does in the actually in the body. So I mean that's just that was just downright heroic for you to be able to get up from that shot. But yeah, I'm of the opinion of most people who were watching the fight and basically giving fan commentary along with it is that that should have at least merited a point deduction because you were clearly down when that got hit. Um, do you think that that no call on that was attributed to him maybe being the house fighter or being the undefeated guy who the promotion was trying to feature on TV? Do you think maybe boxing politics figured into that? I know you're gonna be careful not to be critical of the commission or the promotion because obviously you want to get called back or whatever. But I mean,
Yeah.
personally though, what I'm saying, what do you think it was just an honest mistake, or what do you think was behind the no call on that?
I mean, that's how me and my trainer feel, man. I feel like they knew who was. I guess they had a script, we like to say. I mean, they had to lean on one guy more than and I feel like that was just wrong for them to I'm getting lost in words because I'm like trying to watch what I say too, but basically, like I really do feel like that should have been a DQ because I've seen this fight and I believe it's Robert Hoyt, right? That's my referee. um, I don't know if you guys seen some later fights. He has two fights where I saw where he took points away from
Yeah.
punches that were like not even close to like what they did damage to me. Like I don't know if you guys saw that with the Maestro one. He hit him with the guy, knocked him down, and then he hit him with like tapped him, grazed him, and I believe he missed him with the right hand when he was down,
I
and then
saw
he
that.
took away a point. And I was like, man, if you took away a point from this, then my fight should have been a DQ automatic. But
He's had history of
you know,
having points taken away.
yeah, and so like I mean, from seeing the way they just brushed that off, and then the way the commission was like on me, like, hey, how are you feeling? Like, are you okay? And I'm like, as a fighter, man, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna fight. Let's go. Let's keep going. And then after the fight, you guys notice a guy comes up to me again and tells me, hey, are you okay after that hit? And I'm like, yeah, it's cool, man. I just like dodging him and I'm walking. I'm trying to go back to my corner. But if you guys take a good look, you guys can see that they come up to me a couple times and ask me how am I doing from that shot because they knew that shot was very very dirty, man. And I mean, shoot, I don't want to bring it up, but like $1 million baby, man, punches like that can cost a life, And so I mean, I thought it was a very very bad referee in my opinion. But I mean, I don't want to say it's because they wanted to protect him. I'm just gonna say, hey, it was just a bad call in my opinion.
And follow up. Since we're on the subject of boxing politics and kind of like the doldrums and kind of like the dark underbelly of the sport, where earlier you commented that when you drop a close one like that on TV, the phone starts ringing a little more than it does when say you're winning fights and you're looking good and impressive. Because people are looking for a B side or they're looking for an opponent to make their guy look good on TV or whatever. Is that it? I know that saying you're trying to make it in this profession to help put food on the table for your family. But I guess my
Hmm.
question is it kind of discouraging or disheartening that you turn in a phenomenal heartfelt performance like you did in that last fight and the phone starts ringing because it's an L on your column as opposed to you're being valued for, the hard work and the tremendous fighter we all know that you actually are.
Yeah. Personally, nah, man. Personally, I took it like it felt good because I feel like people liked what I put out there, and it, it showed, like you guys say, it showed my heart. I felt like it showed skills. I was able to throw combinations that I felt like were very impressive, and you know, motivated me even more to come out there and put a bigger performance like this. And to me, in my mind, it's like if I go put out another performance like this and I be one of these favorite guys, I can get a contract. I can get something that can possibly change my life. And I feel like I only see myself up from this, man. I really took this as a positive and a negative for sure.
Yeah, and also, and you said, so you said you have to look at it as a way up, obviously, with the high praise that you got from, established champions with Hall of Fame records and Andre Ward and Timothy Bradley, who were basically singing your praises on the broadcast after that fight. That's got to be a big boost to your confidence in going back into training and getting ready for the next one.
Eddie, speak on the I know Andre Ward and Timothy Bradley, obviously they were calling your fight. Speak on, if you can, speak in detail of any concluding comments they had about you on that fight. Wait, I think
you froze.
Yeah, let me correct that. Hey, Eddie.
Sorry, kicked me out. Hey.
Can you hear us, Eddie?
I can't hear you guys still yet. I see you guys, but I can't hear you. I'm sorry, man. I don't know what's going on.
Well, we still got you on audio.
It's kicking me out. I can't hear you.
Can you hear us now?
Eddie?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you beautifully, man. Can you hear us?
He's gonna come back in. He removed himself. But as he gets back in, I remember that obviously Timothy Bradley and Andre Ward were calling his fight, and I was about to ask him, and I'll ask him once he gets back on, that I think Andre Ward. I don't know if it was Andre Ward or Timothy Bradley, but one of them said, "Hey Eddie, it takes more than just talent or skills. There's that other intangible that you need. You need to push that further to further your career more." So I'm going to ask him right now. So he's back on. Hey, Eddie.
I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, no worries
I get kicked
man.
out.
No worries at all. So, Eddie, I was going to ask you, after your fight, you had a little bit of I don't know, it was the kind of a sub conversation between you and Andre Ward and Timothy Bradley. They had some comments about you. I believe you reiterated that in your social media some time ago. Can you explain what that interaction was, what their comments were about you going forward?
You talking about like during the fight or
like after? They made some comment about it takes more than than talent to go far. Or I don't want to misquote them, but do you remember Timothy Bradley or Andre Ward giving you advice after the fight? And can you speak on that?
Because we had like a fighters meeting, and we were interviewed by it was Andre Ward, Timothy Bradley, and Christina Pandre. Like the whole ESPN and Top Rank cast was there, and I remember and I was telling Coach Jason that I kind of was upset with Timothy Bradley at first because he was like not giving me no love, no nothing. He was just kind of like in a way mean, and I was like,
he tends to do that.
yeah. And I ended up loving this guy because he was talking so much cool about me during the fight. But anyways, they asked me, "What's your biggest attribute in the ring?" And I said heart. And I feel like I got a lot. I got skills. I feel like I got power. I got speed. But my biggest strength in my boxing is my heart, because I will fight through anything. And I feel like that day it showed it. After like you mentioned, Courtney. Not everybody gets up from a body punch like that, man. It takes a lot, and I feel like it really, I had to dig deep to get up from that punch, and that's what they said that, and then I said no, definitely, man. I feel like I got the skills, I got to bring the skills, but I just feel like my heart's the biggest, and they were like, yeah, and all that. So it kind of felt good for them to kind of see as well, like what I was talking about, like because once I like first round was a fill round, second round I definitely turned it up, and I feel like they finally. Well, no, I heard plenty of times them saying like they were basically impressed with my combinations. Tim Bradley saying, "Hey, Sanchez has just found a key." I mean, comments like that was like, man, to hear freaking Timothy Bradley say that and Andre Ward say that, like, it really freaking made me happy, man. And for them to see me get up from a body punch like that too, I know they know that that's hard to get up, So I showed my heart that I was telling them, the day before.
Yeah, I mean, when you're able to do what you did in the ring, and you have men or boxers of that caliber, as in Andre Ward and Timothy Bradley, calling your fight and making those observations about you, you got to look at it as in you join kind of a sacred fraternity. Because if you look at Timothy Bradley's career, if you look at Andre Ward's career, they both got up, and went on to win, saying tremendous fights that, them being put on the canvas in the fashion that they were, cast a lot of doubt if they would be able to go on and finish those fights. And they both did. They both got up and they fought to the end. You did the same. So props, man. You know what I'm saying? That's a sacred. That's sacred in boxing. That's a metaphor for life. When just in the Aaron asked you what got you up from that punch, and a lot of people will say, well, I breathe, or I steadied myself. But you said, you thought about all the people back home, and you got up. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you saying with your biggest attribute being heart, and you having an entire region that is, facing its own challenges behind you, and pulling you up, that just adds and shows how big your heart is. If you looked at, your home, your city, your community, your people, looking at them and facing that dark moment in the ring, and that's what got you up. That's just tremendous, man. And I mean, that was just a treat. That was an honor for the for the boxing world to see, especially in these dark times of COVID. So
thank you, man. And it feels good hearing that, man. Hearing the way you put it out there, it feels really good, man. Because I feel like exactly how you put it out there. It's all that you say, man. I have so much support behind me. Although we're a small little community, it fills my heart with so much, and it's what pushes me in every fight that I have.
Maddie, before we go into the next segment, we've had you on many times, and we've briefly mentioned your trainer Jason last year and there, but I want to take the special time, dedicate some little bit of time on him. So I'm going to play this training clip that you post on your Instagram, and as I play it, I'll speak on your journey with him, man, up to this point. So go ahead, Eddie, speak on your experience with your trainer, Jason Gillespie, throughout your 5 fights, professional fights.
Okay.
So I'll pull that up right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I could say, just to say it, that guy, Coach Jason's he's like a father figure in my life. He's been a best friend of my life, and he knows me, man, inside and outside the ring. He knows me 100%, and it just feels good to have that bond with your trainer, and to also grow together, because I was his first amateur fighter, and or I am his first amateur fighter that he had, and we traveled all over California to fight in tournaments and stuff, and I am his first professional fighter. For us to be doing what we're doing, man, this is our dreams. Our dreams come true. And we motivate each other. He feeds off of me, I feed off of him, and I mean, he's a great person, man, all the way around. He's just a great person. He's a family man. He's just like me, man. So he just the way I was brought up, he has the same, past stories in a way, and that's what we click, I think, 100%. But Coach Jason Gillespie, man, you already know, man, I love you 100, man, and we're gonna keep pushing. We're gonna keep moving forward, and I know, I truly believe in our skills and our training, that we will make it one of these days, and to the world, to show more that we got more, and one day carry that green belt.
For sure. And big shout out to Jason Gillespie. He's always been supportive of us, as you have been, Eddie. So before again, another question. It's kind of off topic, but I'm living in California. You're living in California, and we're dealing with these. How you been handling with these? The red skies. From
Man,
the the air quality is shit right now because of the wildfires and some other related stuff happening. So how you been dealing with that, and how has it impacted your training? These
I mean, to
recent.
me, man, it's been I have a lot of faith in God, and I just leave it all up to Him. But I do my same thing. I'll be running out there. The other day, I send the coach, because I take pictures all the time. I send them to Coach Jason and be like, I take pictures like this, and then you see smoke in my background, and I'm like running high. And he realized he goes laughing my ass off. He puts the dying face, and I'm like, "Nah, JK." I said, "We'll be back very soon, man." And I mean, really, I've been out there just running, and I'm just praying that I don't get sick, or this is not bad for me. Hopefully not, but it's very, very scary, man. Honestly, and me in a religious belief or thought, it's just scary because I'm like, man, it almost sounds like the end of times, and I just try to get closer to God and just try to be in a good place with Him, because I ain't gotta lie, man. I'm afraid. I'm afraid of what's going on, and I'm afraid for my kids. I want a better future, or something good for them, and to see the world we live in is very scary, and to know that they're gonna be, left behind at one point, it's scary.
Yeah,
But as
and
far as my training goes, man, I'm
yeah,
pushing it, man. I'm still out there running, smoking, running that with that smoky air.
that's what's up. And we're very much looking forward to your next fight. Um, hopefully it will be as hopefully you'll be on ESPN again on the bubble. So again, any thoughts on your next fight? Any I don't know. I know you can't give too much away, but is there anything almost set yet in the horizon for you?
We're looking for October, man. That's what we're trying to set up something for October at, like I said, 132, 130. Um, we really don't have nothing on the schedule, but there are also talks about another fight possibly here in Fresno, actually in California. So if things get back to normal very soon, we're talking about. But I don't want to jinx it because it was just fresh news that my coach told me, and we're trying to see if we can put on a show in Fresno again, and that'll be I think they say late October, early November. So it's something. To me, it sounds like it's gonna be back in October or early November. But we're just pushing ourselves, picking up and sparring, and just staying ready.
That's what's up. And but yeah, very much looking forward to your next fight. And it's been a roller coaster, exciting career that me and Courtney personally have been fortunate to be a part of. So we're cheering you on, man. So and also we also thank you we're gonna go into the next segment, and we're very thankful that you decided to stay on for the rest of the show to also be a guest panelist. So thank you very much.
For sure.
So yep. So the next
Hey,
segment that
real,
we're
real
gonna
quick.
yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna go get a charger though. I'm gonna get a charger so my phone don't die because my battery died all of a
Hey,
sudden.
Hey, do your
do
thing,
that.
I'm gonna
man.
get a charger real
Over
fast.
here.
Do that.
All right. So as Eddie gets back, we're going to transition to the next segment. We're going to talk about Canelo Alvarez's lawsuit versus Golden Boy Promotions and the DAZN Network. So I'm just gonna go down. I'm just going to run down the main points of what's going on. So Canelo is seeking monetary damages. Um, he's seeking monetary damages in the excess of $280 million for his remaining fights in that contract, and and in doing so, he's possibly asking for a release from Golden Boy and the Zone altogether. So, and the latest from that situation is that the U.S. of the U.S. District Court in Central California, the Central District of California, rejected the initial filing because Canelo or his attorneys failed to identify the citizenship of each of those said businesses that Canelo mentioned. So that's another hurdle that Canelo's team and attorneys have to deal with. So, Corny, um, give us your initial thoughts about this. And I guess my exact question to you is, what is your chances of what do you think are Canelo's chances of winning this lawsuit in general?
I mean, if we look at the recent history of boxers going to court to get out of contracts or to excise themselves from their promotional entities, it's a very mixed bag. You know, in recent memory, we got Andre Ward, who was tied up with Dan Goosen, rest in peace, to get out of his deal. That went on for the better part of 2 years, well over 2 years, and that only ended when, as a result of Dan Goosen's untimely death, where he was able to. So he didn't win in the courts. Nobody won. Dan Goosen didn't win in the courts. Andre Ward didn't win in the courts. It basically life played out, and that's how we got out of this deal. And then we look at Mikey Garcia, who basically, as I understand that, basically he basically ran the clock out on his contract. He was in court trying to get out of it, to get out from under Top Rank. Get through legal action or through a ruling in the courts to get out of that deal. That didn't happen just because of how slow the courts work. And in the midst of that, his contract ran out and he was ultimately released. I think if anything, Al Heyman paid a small sum, or a relatively small sum, to Top Rank as compensation to that deal, and that's how we got out. But there's not a lot of success in the courts for boxers seeking legal recourse or legal action. And I think Amir Imam, 140-pounder, who recently we saw him in against Jose Ramirez when he was the fighter Jose Ramirez beat to win a vacant WBC title at 140 or junior welterweight. He was in court against Don King, and I think he might have won relief from his contract from the courts because of the conflict of interest between his manager and his manager's relationship with Don King. For those who aren't familiar with the Muhammad Ali Act, it is a federal law that states that a manager and a promoter have to work separately as separate entities, or otherwise it's a conflict of interest. So basically, the promoter is supposed to work to make fights happen. The manager is supposed to work in the interest of the fighter. If those are ever crossed, that's a violation of the Muhammad Ali Act. And in that case, if that is proven in court, then a fighter is relieved from his contract. So, I mean, as of recently, I think the only person who has really gotten any substantial relief in a contract dispute using the courts was Amir Imam. I think I'm not really familiar with the ins and outs of the lawsuit that Canelo has filed against DAZN and or Golden Boy, but I read a comment by another friend of the program or former guest, Nick Angarame, who is an attorney in New York City. He said he actually read the motion, and he, in his legal opinion, and I think he was backed by Manuel Guevara, who has also been a guest on the show and who was also an attorney in New Jersey. They were both pretty much in agreement that it was a procedural miscue with the filing, and they're fully expecting that basically Canelo's attorneys are going to get their shit together and refile that. So I don't expect Canelo to not go down swinging in this. I think he feels he's been slighted by DAZN, as in they're basically kicking him offers for fights that are coming in way lower than his agreed upon agreement per fight. And also, we also know that his Canelo's personal relationship with Oscar De La Hoya, the head of Golden Boy, has gravely deteriorated in the past few years, and it's been pretty nasty out publicly and on social media, as those two have basically had it out in a war of words and otherwise. But I think I look for this to be very long, arduous, and messy, and compacted by the state we're in terms of the state of boxing and where COVID-19 has put us. I think this is one of those things where we shouldn't expect to see Canelo in the ring anytime soon. not only because of the difficulties that COVID-19 has presented to the sport of boxing, but also just because we could probably expect this to get pretty nasty. This thing between him and Golden Boy, and also the Zone being tied up in the courts. But I think I think I'm a Canelo fan, and I've pretty much followed him throughout his career, and in interviews, in the press, and just basically how he presents himself. He is a very resolved person, and he's kind of one of those people where he strikes me is he's going to break before he bends. So and also coupled with the fact that he's also earned more money in the ring at him not even being 30 yet than we'll see in an entire lifetime. That saying that he's comfortable enough to fight this fight, and see it through to its conclusion, whether that conclusion is in his favor or not, because he's already got millions of dollars. Canelo can just say fuck this per se and step away from the sport of boxing and still be a Hall of Famer and still be worth tens of millions of dollars. So, when you're fighting, when you're in that position and you're going hard on principle, that that leads me to believe that Canelo is going to be pretty much dug in on this. As a Canelo fan, as a boxing fan, as a person who recognizes what Canelo means to the sport, I've said time and time again on this broadcast that I believe that Canelo is amazing for the sport of boxing as a whole. As a boxing fan, I just see it as this has tragic connotations for the sport, in that we're not going to see one of boxing's biggest and brightest and burning stars in the ring, plying his craft, doing what he does best, and basically fighting for the fans. I think the tragedy in this is we're looking at a very consequential and very real possibility that just like Andre Ward, just like Mikey Garcia, where they gave up prime years of their career battling their promoters in litigation, we can there's always going to be that question hanging over their heads or their careers of how much greater could they have been in those 2 years, and fighting those matchups and applying their craft and basically just continuing to stack their case for boxing greatness. I think both of those gentlemen are already Hall of Famers. But with Ward, with Mikey Garcia, I think at least I am. I'm always going to wonder. What if? What if we'd seen them? Not have that 2 year gap in their careers. What could they have accomplished? And I think it's a real tragedy that we might have ended asking that when we look back at Canelo's career.
I have a question for both of you, and I'll have Eddie answer first, but I want to give my thoughts on this question too. Where do you guys think the problem started originating from between Golden Boy, Canelo, and the Zone? In my opinion, I think the problem all started when after Canelo's fight with Daniel Jacobs. At that point, the Zone was expecting, hey, let's pick it up now. We need a high caliber opponent. And then because of that pressure, De La Hoya, he made an apparent an assurance to the Zone that, hey, he's going to fight Triple G. And I think I remember Canelo being really ticked off because he didn't go to him first before making that presentation to the Zone. So I think that's where when you trace that smoke, that's where the fire is. That started all of this. So Eddie, where do you think this trouble between Canelo and his promoters exactly started that has led us to this point? Your thoughts, Eddie?
My thoughts on because I didn't even know until I was watching one of the last fights when one of the commentators were talking about and said that they were having issues. So I'll be honest with you, I have no idea really what the whole situation, why they are going into lawsuits and all that. But my thoughts really on the fighter's perspective, I guess, is more like, how is this going to affect Canelo? Because this is going to be mentally tiring for him. It's going to be a long battle, and I wonder if that's going to affect him in his performance because of, we hear this all the time with other fighters having issues at home, whether it's family issues or not. Like even Teofimo Lopez, when he had that fight with I forgot, a while back, and they were talking of how, he wasn't impressive at all. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is that I'm just wondering how is this going to affect, because Canelo's one of my favorite fighters too, and I would hate to see him go down from this. So that's my biggest concern on, really. It's just to see how is this going to affect Canelo, and I almost feel like it's going to affect negatively because it's going to be a long, lawsuit or battle.
Definitely. Courtney, where do you think all this problem originated from? As you try to trace these issues, and that problem, where you think it is, can that be salvaged in time for Canelo and Golden Boy to move forward? Your thoughts?
I'm not particularly clear on what belt or what weight division that belt was won in, but the first grumblings I heard about a deterioration in the promoter-fighter relationship between Oscar De La Hoya and Canelo Alvarez was an issue with one of the belts. I think it was the WBC belt at 160, where Canelo felt that, I think he might have even been designated he was designated the franchise champion or something or other. And it was it was the belt that was, it was a belt that was either he defended or I think it was one of the belts he won in the rematch against Triple G. But basically, I think a deal was done with Golden Boy and the WBC where it was essentially the belt was taken from Canelo, but he was designated the franchise champion. And then that's where we kind of have these, the asterisks or these quotations. And
now we have
more
Jamal
weight
Charlo
classes where we
being the
don't really
basic.
know who is the champion, saying who's the actual champion and who is the franchise champion. And it's, and I'm usually the one explaining the belt situation or untangling it for people who are not really familiar with boxing politics or how these organizations go about ranking or doling or designating their champions. So I'm usually with Johnny on the spot with being able to say is, hey, this guy is the super champion or the real champion. These people are the interim champions or the regular champion when you back the WBA into it or whatever. But it's all become pretty convoluted, and saying in the conversation. So, but as I remember, that designation of franchise champion was given to Canelo, and then somebody else was fighting for that belt. And I think a lot of that animosity between Canelo and Golden Boy, or Canelo and Oscar De La Hoya, are both stem from saying basically him saying saying I went in there and I fought Triple G tooth and nail for this belt, and now they're pretty much putting an asterisk by my shit. So I think that's where it really touched off. And then I think it's never, that relationship has never really mended from that point on. And there's been there's been other things that have culminated in this lawsuit and then taken it to the courts and lawyers staying down and whatnot. But I think that was the spark that pretty much ignited the deterioration of Canelo and Oscar De La Hoya as being, the head of Golden Boy's relationship.
So yeah, it's a rocky situation, very complicated for any of us to dissect. Last, Courtney, rebounding to you, do you think what are your chances of what are the chances of Oscar and Canelo salvaging the relationship, basically going forward with this belt?
It's unsalvageable. Saying the relationship is unsalvageable, but there's been relationships that have been irreparably damaged that have still continued in boxing because, and I think that if the relationship between Golden Boy / Oscar De La Hoya and Canelo continues, it'll be because Canelo has no recourse through the courts to get out of this contract, and if he wants to fight again and does not want to pay the enormous sum it's probably going to take to break that contract with Golden Boy. If those things don't happen, then I think it just continues as a forced marriage.
Right.
or one where we say, they're in it for the kids. But I'm saying that I think if the relationships continue, the relationship between Golden Boy and Canelo continues, I think it'll be because Canelo is forced to stay in it, and if he wants to continue his career, he would just continue unhappily fighting on Golden Boy just to see the contractor. But he's got an 11 fight deal. That's a long time to be unhappy. You know what I'm saying? It's like a married couple who are married for 30, 40 plus years and they finally call it quits, and you're thinking like, damn, that was a long ass time to be together with somebody or to be in a relationship of any sort and to be unhappy or to be miserable within that. So I hope Canelo doesn't invoke like a nuclear option and just says screw it and retires from the sport because he doesn't want to fight under Golden Boy. And I really can't see that. If if Canelo has been about all that he's been about these past few years, as far as being the torchbearer of Mexico within boxing, and bringing momentous events and great fights to the people, then I don't see him. I don't see him doing that to his fans because he has a personal beef or a business deterioration with Oscar De La Hoya. I don't see that, but I don't think that's impossible or out of the question either. So it's pretty much one of those things. It's a lot of intrigue. It's a lot of wait and see.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely a wait and see, and hopefully, for the benefit of the fans, we'll get to see Canelo relatively soon in the ring. Moving on to the next subject, we got the Charlo brothers, a double header showdown on September 26th. Not that far away. We got
Al Hammond, take my money.
We got it's a Showtime pay-per-view. Price tag is $74.99, $75. We got Jamal Charlo of his third WBC middleweight title defense against former two-time title challenger Sergey Derevyanchenko. He's 13-2 with 10 knockouts. He's relatively best known for his battle against Golovkin, where Golovkin really had to fight his way to etch out that W over Sergey. And also, we got Jermell Charlo versus in a unification fight in the junior middleweight division against Dominican Republic's Jason Rosario, who just came off his win against who was it?
J-Rock.
I know who he is. J-Rock. He's Rosario is the WBA and IBF junior middleweight champion, with Charlo being the junior middleweight WBC champion. So they're gonna mesh for that for that unification match. So let's give our quick takes on each of those fights. Let me start with you, Eddie. What's your take on Jamal Charlo versus Sergey? Because on the tangible side, Jamal Charlo, he has a height advantage, he has a reach advantage, but this will be his toughest opponent in my view. Sergey is gonna close the space and he's gonna pressure him as best as he could. So what's your take on that fight, Eddie? Jamal Charlo versus Sergey Derevyanchenko.
And you said, oh, no.
Hello?
See, and I don't know the other guys. So yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm not. I thought you said Sergey Kovalev for a minute. I was like, what? No, but I'm not too familiar of their opponents, man. But I definitely like the Charlo brothers, the way they have really good boxing skills, and I feel that they're young, and then they're coming up. Well, I mean, they're already kind of up, or never mind. But I really just I believe that they got what it takes to I guess get the victory on these guys. But I'm not too familiar with their opponents, to be honest.
Fair enough. Courtney, your take on Jamal Charlo versus Sergey Derevyanchenko?
I think those are two fights that they're going to be. I think they're going to be off top. I think they're going to be bangers for as long as they last. I think those are going to be high octane and very high energy fights, very fan friendly fights, and I think that's I think that was the motivation behind making this doubleheader a pay per view. Because just because of the fact that they're going to be so fan friendly, with the fight versus Jamal Charlo versus Sergey Derevyanchenko. We all see Derevyanchenko. He took Triple G to a very dark place
Yeah.
in that last fight, and that's a fight that possibly he fought it in a way where we saw Triple G grow old and very possibly irreparably damaged and worse for wear. In that performance, and just basically what he had to do to dig his way back and finish that out against Derevyanchenko. So, Derevyanchenko coming off that type of performance and coming into a fight that's of this caliber with these stakes, I think he's seeing himself coming in as the man with nothing to lose and everything to gain. And those are some of the most dangerous fighters out there. Personally, from a fan perspective, I would very much like to see Derevyanchenko pull that out, just because of the upset factor, just because of how it would shake things up, and especially because that would put pressure on Triple G to give Derevyanchenko that rematch for a unification. Yeah. I think that obviously that would be a fight that's a little more easier to make within the promotional and TV climate than a Jamal Charlo Triple G fight for unification. So, what I'm saying? Usually, I like to go for the American fighter, especially when a title is on the line, because I like to see as many belts in the US of A as possible. But this is a fight where I'm actually going for Derevyanchenko because I want to see him rematch Triple G for unification. As far as a pick'em, how I think that's going to go, I think Derevyanchenko is going to give him hell and give him all he can handle up until late in the fight, and then I think he's going to get caught with something. Just because both the Charlo brothers, they are guys that they've become, those two combined, they've become the stupidest bet against in the sport. And I have a reputation of picking against them. I thought J-Rock was going to do it. I thought Lubin was going to do it, and they both came up short. So as far as Jamal Charlo and Derevyanchenko, I think that's how I see that goes. I think it ends late with Jamal catching him with something and putting him away. As far as Jermell Charlo versus Jason Rosario for the 154-pound or junior middleweight title.
Oh, so let me add. Unlike Jamal's fight, I think Jermell Charlo and Jason Rosario, they pretty much match up pretty well. So I just want to add that. But yeah, go ahead, Courtney.
I think both fights. I think both fights they match up pretty well. I think Derevyanchenko presents a very we saw Jamal Charlo against Matt Korbov. Had a very difficult time with that Eastern European old Soviet style that was brought against him, and that gave him a lot to think about. He actually looked horrible. There's a lot of people who say that he should not have gotten a nod in that fight. So, that's stylistically that type of matchup. I think that's going to prevent. I think that's going to present a great deal of challenge for Jamal in that fight. But his ability to find the right punch and bring it out of nowhere, that's the intangible. That he's almost like a Wilder, Deontay Wilder in that sense. I fully see that as a scenario where he's going to be down on the majority of the cards, if not three, and probably well behind, and he's just gonna, he's gonna string it together and get Derevyanchenko out of there. But back to Jermell Charlo versus Jason Rosario. Jason Rosario was coming off a dominant and very surprising performance against Julian J. Rock Williams, where he basically emerged from nowhere. We're talking about Jamal Charlo pulling punches out of nowhere. This guy, Jason Rosario, came out of nowhere, period, to just basically brutalize J-Rock. And, our J-Rock, Daniel Pena, I think he was, I think he was the only one who might have called that or might have saw that. And I think that might have been a little bit of flag waving, but shout out to the DR, shout out to the DR fans that that rock with us on this broadcast. But Jason Rosario did it big and represented and brought it home to the DR. Saying case in point against Julian J. Rock Williams in a fight that very truly nobody gave him a chance to win. But the intangible was in that fight. In that fight, was that he is basically a behemoth as a junior middleweight. The guy, the guy basically has a light heavyweight build coming in fighting as a junior middleweight. Very filled out, very well put together. Granite chin, very hard puncher, very sneaky puncher, and just the combination of being height and just basically his ability to rehydrate about 20 to 25 pounds up the scale coming into the ring. That's one of those situations where you're fighting an entirely different dude who is staring you at the face at the weigh-in. The guy who stared at you in the face at the weigh-in is somebody a completely different proposition when they come in and face you in the ring and touch gloves with you. So I think I actually expect Jermell to have a tougher go of it than against Jason Rosario than his brother is going to have against Deryanchenko. But the Jermell brothers are they're big at the weight as well, and Jermell is particularly big at the weight. Jermell, he grew out of junior middleweight, and Jermell is someone who is just basically, he said he expects to stay at the 154-pound weight division possibly for the duration of his career, just because he's probably someone who has mastered the weight cut and the rehydration process. And he's a big, tall, lanky guy, but he carries that weight and he carries those extra pounds that he's able to put on between the weigh-in and fight night very well. And also just like his brother, he's a very devastating puncher, and he's also got the ability to turn the fight on a dime. With the prowess and the timing of those power punches that he can put together. But the thing is, I think the blueprint on Jermell has basically been revealed by Tony Harrison in that first fight. I know that was a close fight. I personally saw it as being able to go either way. A lot of people saw it as a robbery, and they still think Jermell Charlo should be an undefeated fighter. But I mean, I think if you're gonna go in there and you're gonna fight to win against Jermell Charlo, you have to be able to put together a fight that, or basically the same fight or a similar style to what Tony Harrison was able to put together against him on that night. And I think Jason Rosario, with his skill set and his physical attributes, he is a guy who is very capable of putting up that same type of performance. But the difference between, I think, a Jason Rosario and a Tony Harris, as we saw Tony Harrison not being able to make lightning strike twice in the rematch because he has done something, or he did something in that fight that he's been prone to do throughout his career. That's basically fall asleep at the wheel. I don't think Jason Rosario was going to do that at all. I think he's going to go in there, and I think he's going to be looking to be very keen to unify those titles and bring yet another belt back to the DR. So as far as my pick'em in that fight between Jermell Charlo and a Jason Rosario, I think for me it's too close to call.
It's a fair assessment. I think for both brothers, they have the pedigree to come off, each to come up to be successful in their double headers. So very challenging fights come September 26th, Showtime pay-per-view. Great takes from both of you guys. Since we have a little bit more time to spare, I know this wasn't on the agenda, but since it's official, since both fighters have signed on, we've got the very official fight between Teofimo Lopez and Vasyl Lomachenko. So we're going to still have a future episode going in depth, but let's give our first surface thoughts of the fight, at least, since we have more minutes to spare in this episode. So, Eddie Sanchez, give us your breakdown. Give us your breakdown of the fight and who you're picking to win that fight come October 7th?
I'm a huge fan of both fighters, man. I like them both. Teofimo Lopez has the right, attitude. He's the upcoming kind of guy that everybody likes. Power, can't deny it. He got that kind of power. The way he put Comey out, man, or at least dropped him, that was pretty bad, man. And but Lomachenko's been one of my favorites for a very long time since the amateurs, man. I remember watching this guy since the amateurs, and I just believe I'm gonna stick with Lomachenko, man. I think he has the skills to know. He's faced a lot of. I'm sure he's faced a lot of Teofimo Lopez fighters in his career, in his 400 plus fights in the amateurs, and or I think 398 I think it was, and in his pro career. I think early rounds, like I think the first 6 rounds gonna be competitive. I think Lomachenko is definitely gonna be like maybe he could be even almost losing the fight or something because um, I feel like he's gonna be trying to take him to deep waters in my opinion, and also he Lomachenko, he lets lose as rounds go out, and I think that there is still a question that can Teofimo Lopez land his power shot. If he does land a power shot, I do, question because I know Lomachenko did get dropped with Linares with the right hand back at 135. So, I mean, Lopez is a much more stronger fighter than Linares. But in my opinion, I think it's gonna go the distance. I think. Yeah, I'm gonna say it's gonna go the distance with Lomachenko man for decision, but it's definitely gonna be entertaining. I think the first half of the fight will be more entertaining. I feel like after that, Lomachenko is going to take over. I really believe he's going to take over. But I'm super excited for this fight, man.
Yep. Great take on the fight, Eddie Sanchez. Before we go into the next segment, Corny, your initial thoughts on Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez?
I've already given them. So
Yeah.
I've already given them. So I'm gonna stand by. I'm gonna stand by my previous comments and my assessment on the fight from previous episodes. If y'all like to know what those are, go ahead and archive us.
Fair enough.
I don't want to keep doing it because I don't want to contradict myself. I feel passionately about it, and I'm on an up and down, emotional. Since sometimes I feel strongly for Lomachenko. Sometimes I feel strongly for Teofimo. It just depends on the day. It might depend on a news release or some social media. As far as so they're both talking a lot of trash. Sometimes Teofimo is talking that real cash money. Sometimes Lomachenko is, and it's one of those things where depending on what they say and how they say it, I can feel differently from each way. So I don't want to give too many. I don't want to keep giving analysis on it this far out from the fight and contradict anything I might have said beforehand. But I will say this. I'm hoping that Teofimo wins this fight just to shut Roy Bennett up. I know Roy Bennett. That's my boy. I know he's a huge Lomachenko fan, but it's kind of borders on man crush, and I just basically want to see Roy Bennett take a plugged-in toaster into his bathtub at this point. But no, I think no. But in all seriousness, though, I'm excited about the fight. I'm hyped for it. I think this is the fight that boxing needs right now, particularly in this climate with the sport and with the current state of the world. And I'm just elated, and I just can't wait to see it.
Fair enough. And as you said, Corny, we'll get your thoughts on a future episode. But with no further ado, we got another very special guest, Chris Miranda. He's the vice president of outreach and sales of America Strong USA.org. But I want to give Courtney the opportunity to honor of fully introducing him. So Courtney, you go ahead, man.
I said in a previous episode when I was back when I was deployed basically a month ago, a few weeks ago, that 2020 has been a particularly hard and challenging and tragic year. Not only for Americans but for the world, and I firmly believe that we've all taken multiple L's and multiple losses this year in 2020, and it's this can be looked at as a very disheartening and very discouraging time for humanity and for us as Americans and citizens of the world living in America. The person we're about to speak with right now is a person who is fully committed to putting a W back in the column for Americans and for and basically for the cause and for the hope of democracy and all that it stands for, not only at home but abroad, worldwide. I'm active duty Air Force. I've been in the military for the past 17 years. This gentleman we're about to speak to is a retired Master Sergeant in the United States Air Force. And when I was deployed overseas, I got so much affirmation. I got so many well wishes from people back home saying thank you, saying we're proud of you. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing. But being over there and seeing what the rest of the world was dealing with when COVID hit, when the social unrest has hit, when the greater conversation about an equitable society has been going on, I'm basically a person doing what I do, and I'm looking at the doctors. I'm not sure I understand. I'm sorry, but I'm looking at the doctors. I'm looking at nurses. I'm looking at policemen. I'm looking at firefighters. I'm looking at frontline workers in hospitals, in restaurants, in the service sector, doing what they're doing, getting up, going to work every day in the face of one of the greatest challenges we've seen as Americans and as a society as a whole. And those people have become my heroes. The people who just had the courage to not only live their lives the best they could, but to reach their hand out and help others, whether it's to sew a mask up for somebody, whether it's to keep people fed, whether it's to put a mask on and go into somebody's home and check on them because they live alone or maybe they're elderly, or bring a meal by, or just knock on a door of your neighbor and say hello to them and make sure they're all right. Those are the people who've become my heroes. So this gentleman we're about to speak to, Chris Miranda, is a veteran. He's a patriot, and he's a proud resident currently residing in San Antonio, Texas. And it's with great humility and great pleasure that I present, Mr. Chris Miranda to the Standing 8 podcast and broadcast to talk to us a little bit more about a cause and about an organization that is in his core and is seeping all throughout him to just basically to help others and to be of service. America Strong. Chris, thank you so much for being here on the show today. And before you get started, I got to start with a question. Are you a boxing fan? Because if you're not, you got to kick rocks.
Oh, man, that's going to hurt me. That's going to hurt me. Back in the day, I used to watch my Friday night fights.
Good deal. Hey, we'll take that. We'll take that.
Yes. I've watched Canelo fight. I've watched Tyson fight back in the day. But I have to say, with UFC coming around, a lot more action. And I like that. I like boxing, but UFC caught my attention, and I kind of fell off. I'm not going to lie, but I do like the stand-up in UFC, which resides and resembles, boxing. So that's good. So, hey, first off, I want to say thank you guys, all of you, for letting us come on here. I know it's a little bit outside of the boxing realm, but I'd like to say that we are 100% thankful for any opportunities that we get there. We can speak about our company and what we're doing and how we're trying to do it. First and foremost, anybody who's listening, please, to understand more about what the company is about and what our target is, please go to americastrongusa.org. Now, basically, we are United First Responders brand, and we have the America Strong trademark, which is a very strong trademark. We have a lot of people who are wanting to come on board with us because America Strong is not just a powerful phrase, it's a powerful flow of energy that comes with it. Now, what we are trying to do, and we just started up, so please bear with us. But what we're doing is we start off with the Wristband Challenge. And the Wristband Challenge is something as simple as this. If you can see it, it says America Strong.
Yep.
On one side, and on the back side, has an American flag. So what we've done is we've set up a website. That's the website I was telling you guys about, the AmericaStrongUSA.org. And essentially, you go there to purchase one of those, or maybe more of those bracelets. We've grown inventory from these plastic yellow bracelets to the really nice cuff bracelets. And what we're doing is we have T-shirts for sale, and at some point we're going to have the America Strong beer line that comes out in hard seltzer. I mean, doesn't that sound kind of awesome to have an America Strong beer clothing line? And what essentially you're going to do is everyone's going to come straight from the United States. It's going to be made in the United States, ingredients from the United States, targeting the United States heroes, as you said. And Courtney, I'm going to have to say, you might have a job with us after this. That was an amazing presentation you gave about the company, and I truly appreciate everything that you said, because I'm not sure if the other gentleman, you guys been in the military?
No.
No, we're not.
I'm currently active duty, and another panelist, Tommy Rush, he couldn't be with us tonight. He is a veteran of the United States Army.
Very nice. Very nice. So just to give you an example, when we deploy, the hostilities that we undergo is basically over a 4-month, 9-month, maybe a 12-month if we extend it out period in time. Correct, Courtney?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we come back home and we come back to the peace and loving, tranquil state, country, neighborhood that we're used to. The police officers, the doctors, the nurses, the firemen, all of them are in a deployment situation, especially right now in this time frame, on a daily basis. They put their lives on the line, not just because of the virus, just to protect people who don't even know their name. They don't know who that person is, who they're protecting, who they're saving, but they're going to put their life on the line. And we understand that there's a situation right now where they had a few bad elements within the police. But you know what? That doesn't make all police bad. And those guys, I'm telling you, if you look at some of the pictures back from 9/11, the very first group of people to go into the building as everybody was rushing out and those planes hit were the policemen and were the firemen. They sacrificed everything they had without even a second thought. But their main mission, their main thought, save whoever we can save. And a lot of them perished trying to save people who didn't even know them. Nobody knew each other, but they knew they had that sense of duty, that sense of pride within America, within the American citizen, within the community fabric. They had that sense of pride because whoever's in that building is family at this point, and I'm going to go save you. So what we, back in that time frame, even though it was a bad situation, there was a huge sense of American pride, huge sense of just come togetherness. And we want to try to take it back to that because right now we are just falling apart at the thing. And the last thing I want, the last thing we all want, is for some rogue country out there to think that the United States is falling apart within to try to attack us from outside. We don't want that. And on top of that, we don't want to dismantle ourselves from the inside to be completely defunct. We don't want that. We want, if we enjoy the lives that we have, if we enjoy these podcasts, going out and walking down the street, being able to protest. Hey, protest is good. But you know what? You can't do that in other countries. We have the freedoms. And what we're trying to do is ensure that we come back together as a family, as a country, in love. And we're trying to do it in a small pocket. This is our pocket. This is our beginning. These bracelets is our beginning. And we're going to move forward really fast. We have a lot of investors coming in, and we have a lot of people interested in the America Strong trademark. And we had a race car just recently. We were at NASCAR. We had a car wrapped, and we had it going. It was an amazing event. So many people there, so many just Americans happy. They stood for the American. They had their hands over their hearts. They were just, everybody loved everybody. All races, creeds, colors within the stands. And you know, the COVID didn't exist right there in that little circle, by the way, at NASCAR. It's scary to get into that little NASCAR apparently because everybody was there and enjoying it. And we had so much fun. It was incredible to see the patriotism, the camaraderie. There was no anger, there was no nothing. It was just a sense of calmness and enjoying a sport like we used to do in the old days. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to start with our little pocket, start with these bracelets and the T-shirts, and eventually the beer that's on the way. We have the clothing, and if you look at some of the shirts, we have a design for the 9/11. We have this flag one that I'm wearing now. It's America Strong. Here, I'll turn around real quick if you can see it.
Yeah.
That one. We essentially are collecting that money, and we're going to donate to the heroes that you were talking about, Courtney. We're going to donate to the nonprofit organizations that are helping those heroes. Because there are a lot of nonprofit organizations out there right now that are helping the police, the firemen, the doctors, the nurses, EMTs, whoever it might be that are on the front line right now, helping everybody and anybody. They're out there because the situation is there's so much happening that there isn't enough money to go out and help those organizations, as well as we plan on trying to provide to the elementary schools that don't have the PPE, the protective gear, the masks, the hand sanitizer, whatever it might be. We want to donate to those causes too, because that youth, that's our future. That's somebody's child. That was me at one point. That was you guys at one point in elementary school. You know, to take care of them is to take care of our future. So what we're doing is we're trying to do this. And if we have one little pocket right here, which is us, and we have another little pocket company that gets together, and then another one, guess what? We merge together and become a huge movement. Right now, we can do what we can. And with this podcast, hopefully, people are going to hear us and going to go out there and want to be a part of us. We donate and do whatever you can for us to help us help other people. That is our main goal. We have John Legge, who's the president. We have PJ Schrantz. He's a 9/11 firefighter who's on our team as well. We have some really caring people on our team that just want the United States to be okay. We want us to move forward. We want us to repair, and we got to start slow and small, and that's where we come in. So apart from that, any other questions for me that I can touch on? Because I know we had a few questions in the lineup.
What was the significance of picking yellow for the wristband?
So picking yellow is because the color yellow is the brightest color within the rainbow. Okay, we picked it. It's the brightest color. It is a strong color, as well as if you think about it, in the military, when we have members who deploy, the color that's used when we tie the ribbon around the tree. Everybody remember that when we used to do it? It was the big yellow ribbon. It's for remembrance. It's for caring. So that's why we picked yellow, because yellow stands for all of that, and we want to be all of that.
And also, this is not related to your organization per se, but we know you work for the USAA. How was your experience working there up to this point? Can you shed some light on that?
Oh yeah. So I'm going to tell you, I'm diehard military. I did 22 years in the military. I did my deployments. I love my airmen. I love my soldiers. Anybody who's in the military, I love helping. So I was working in USA for about 2 years in the IT department. And essentially, I just left USAA. And tomorrow, I start my onboarding to work at Lackland Air Force Base. Courtney, you know what that is. That's where everybody goes through for basic training in the Air Force. So I'm going back to Lackland to take over a section to help them understand the quantitative effects of computer repair, network repair. Go back and try to fix the help desk and try to improve a lot of aspects, because I used to teach that when I was in the Air Force as well. So they want me to create a course to push it out to the Air Forces, as well as stand up this whole division. So, and I'm going to do it solely because I love helping the warfighters.
Before I kick it off to Courtney, how much of your job duties deal with cybersecurity? Is that part of your jurisdiction or field?
Well, cybersecurity is a huge part of the IT realm, and right now they're calling it cyber in the cyber world. It's huge, and there are so many positions out there right now. Anybody listening, if you want to get into the IT career field, I will tell you that cybersecurity is the way to go. Get some certifications and do that, because not only within USA, Air Force, whatever company, they need cybersecurity professionals. So, and there's short demand right now, or in high demand, short supply. So go ahead and look into cybersecurity aspect. It's a huge chunk of it. When I was in USAA, I was teaching the phishing program. You know, how to be aware and alert. And I would actually send out mock email phish. And it's amazing to see how many people would fail. Even our most professionals that we had within the system would fail. Because, you know, you have to make them realistic. And I would catch them all the time.
Very interesting stuff. Courtney, any follow-up questions?
Yeah, Chris. Back to America Strong. What platforms can people go and basically just learn more about your organization and its mission and what you're trying to do for people? What platforms? You know, we know you have a website. Just give us the rundown of saying where all we can find you on the World Wide Web and on social media.
On the interweb, right? Yeah. So we have a Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and a YouTube channel we just stood up. What we did, now here's the interesting part for the YouTube channel. Did you guys know that Mayor de Blasio said that the reading of the names of the 3,000 people who died in 9/11 was not allowed to happen this year? Did you guys know that?
No, I did not know that. Okay,
so de Blasio put a squash on that. So our organization got together and we broke up the 3,000 names, and we have some very high-powered representatives and dignitaries, regular people like me. We have pastors, we have senators, all taking a chunk of the names to pay homage and respect to the fact that those people, those heroes that we're trying to support, those heroes went into the building selflessly to save lives and ended up losing theirs. We could not stand there and let that happen. So what we did was we did that, and we have a YouTube channel with all the videos broken up so you can see it in parts, because there's a lot of names and there's a lot of people who wanted and jumped in on this because it's an amazing thing to do. It's the right thing to do. So yes, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, and go ahead and look up America Strong USA when you do that. And if you go to our website, it's at the bottom of the page. It lists everything out. And we have a news portion, and it tells you exactly what's happening and where we're at. The new products that might be coming out, new interviews that happen. For example, this interview will end up on our news channel as well.
Good deal.
Oh, go ahead, Courtney.
I just wanted to ask one more question. The organization is called America Strong. I was going to ask, how strong are you right now as far as personnel, who you guys have on the ground, working on social media, on the web, just basically all the entities that are plugging your organization? How many people do you have on board right now?
So the organization is actually called the United First Responders Brand, and our trademark is America Strong.
Okay.
So we have a total within our team, I would guesstimate right now, I didn't count them out, about 8 to 10 people.
Okay.
Working very hard on all of those platforms I just mentioned, going out doing interviews like this, writing letters out to companies. We're constantly busy, constantly boots on the ground, pushing ahead, just to make sure that people know who we are and what we represent and who we're trying to represent. Yeah, we are working hard. We are solid 8.
Great stuff. My last question is, so what were your fondest memories serving our great country? Can you bring up one of your best memories, if you could share that with us?
So I have 2, if you don't mind. I can share the 2. So when I was in USAFE, which is the Air Force out in Europe, there's basically a competition within your career field, and it's called Airmen of the Year. You have Airmen of the Quarter. So you have to win you have to be the best within your career field within the quarters of the year. And then at the end of the year, you have a final competition to see if you are the best at the end of the year amongst all the other winners. So I was blessed enough to win. And in Europe, you just don't win a a trophy. You don't win plaques and kudos. I won an F-16 ride. I won an F-16 D model. I was up there, and I literally told the pilot, if I don't throw up, I'm going to be upset. And he tried. And I packed a bunch of those little throw-up bags. I said, all right, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to need at least 4 bags. But I had a blast. It was one of the best competitions I did. It helped me learn a lot about me, as well as the reward itself was just phenomenal. I'll never forget it. Now, the other thing I have is a part of 9/11, everybody remembers where they're at. Okay. Do you remember back when the news reports were coming out and nobody knew what was happening, where the planes came from, what hit the towers? I was part of an organization in Hill Air Force Base called the 84 Base. And essentially they are the radar evaluation squadron, and they manage all the radars that track all of the flights that are around the United States. And they are many in multitudes. So we are the only one that does what we do in the DoD. So at a certain point, the White House, the FAA, CIA, FBI, everybody was calling us to get that information. But apparently somebody knew what we did as well, some bad guy, and they called it a bomb threat. So with the bomb threat, they have to clear the building. So we couldn't do our jobs. So everybody had to go at least 200 feet, 300 feet away. And we were in another parking lot somewhere near the wing headquarters, basically, the main boss's building. With that said, myself, Chief Mark Lubinsky, and a Tech Sergeant, Junior Nahill, all defied orders, ran back to the building to get our mobile units that our technicians used, ran back, getting yelled at the whole time by our commander, okay, because we were not supposed to go back due to the bomb, supposed bomb. Ran back, gave the deployed kits to our technicians, and literally said, sir, give us a second. Guys, do what you do best. There's some serious stuff going on. We need you to set up over at the headquarters. And they did. So when the news reports stopped saying we don't know, and at a certain point they started saying undisclosed sources told us, that was the 84 raids. They were the undisclosed sources. That was us at that time. And we made that happen so that people knew what was going on. Those are my 2 highlights.
Wow, that's very very tense moments that you experienced there, and also yeah, and also we like to thank you for coming on, enlightening us about your experiences, and also giving us insight about AmericasStrongUSA.org. Thank you, Mr. Chris Miranda, for taking time out of your schedule to join us. Any last comments you want to share with us before we end it?
The only thing I can tell you is we need to come back together as a country in love and patience. We can start off with if that sounds even better. Let's like each other. Let's like the moment. Let's like our neighbor. Let's not leave the house with hatred in our hearts, in our minds. Let's try to leave the house and wake up with positive thoughts, because positive thoughts are contagious. And the ones with negative thoughts will soon be drowned out by the positive. So we, as a company, are trying to push that positivity out. So all we ask is that everybody give a chance, like your neighbor, like yourself, like your job. Enjoy the fact that God gave you another day. You woke up, you saw the sunshine. You had a chance and a moment to spend with your child and your family, and you got a moment to hang out with your boys, with your girlfriend, with your wife, whatever it is. Have a great steak meal, but you were given another chance. Why not use it to the best of your ability, not for the worst of the situation? So we just ask everybody, be patient and come back and take a deep breath and come back and like. It'll soon get to love.
Thank you again for those very heartfelt words. And Eddie Sanchez, Eduardo Sanchez, also thank you for joining us earlier in the show. Any last words, any shout outs you want to give out before we end it tonight?
Definitely. First of all, I definitely want to say, Mr. Chris, it was a pleasure meeting you, man. I'm so glad to be a part of this show with us right now. And thank you for the time you served, man, for us, man. And I wish you nothing but success and more positive coming out from this. And I'll definitely take those last words you say to heart, man, and put it into my life. So, like again, it was just an honor to meet you. And for everybody else, man, thank you for having me here always and supporting me, Aaron, and like my little boy Eddie over here.
Eddie, Eddie.
Courtney, thank you guys so much for always having me on the show with you guys and supporting me in my career. And just stay tuned, man. I'll be back on the show very soon, man. I'm working hard, but I'm gonna still end it with thank you, Mr. Chris, for your kind work that you're doing right now.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Yeah,
You ready?
love your family, man. Love the ones that are close to you. Those people, those 3,000 people that went into that building that never came back. That night they had with their families was the last night they had. So make it every day count.
Amen.
Every day does count. Courtney, any last words before we end it tonight?
Hey, I just want to say to the Standing 8 podcast viewers, thank you so much for sticking with us and sticking it, sticking it out through, throughout the time that we've been able to present to you on multiple platforms and on social media. You've stuck with us through cancellations, technical difficulties, some we've experienced on this show. But we just keep coming back because of the public demand and the response that we get from the public. It's it's really uplifts my soul to be able to share this with you all and to basically just talk about one of my passions in life and to share it with so many people. Thanks again to Mr. Chris Miranda for being on the show with us. This is outside the box for this and a first for this broadcast to basically delve into something that's outside the realm of boxing, but as I like to say, we're so much more than boxing fans. We're so much more than our given occupation. We're so much more than an ethnic group we identify with. We're so much more than a language that we speak. We're so much more than a nationality that we adhere to. We are human beings, and we are we are all just sharing a very brief moment in time called life. And if a gentleman like Master Sergeant retired Mr. Chris Miranda can come and spend 10 to 15 minutes with us talking about an organization that is uplifting people and is just seeking to pay homage to humanity, then I think that's all to the good. And I think that is, even though it's not directly related to the sweet science, I think it directly ties into what we're doing here on the show, as in looking to just uplift people and just spread hope and spread positivity and just lift people up from a state of ordinary living and just giving people something to look forward to. So, Mr. Miranda, we thank you again. Eddie, El Dorado, hashtag Leyenda Futura. Hey, thank you so much for coming on the show. Hey, and Aaron, hey, thank you for putting together another fire show. We know that you have the toughest job on these broadcasts, moderating, participating, fielding questions, asking questions, and working the boards, and just doing it so fabulously, man. Hey, we love you. Hey, I fucks with you, man. We dig your style.
Thank you, Courtney. Mr. Chris Miranda, Mr. Eddie Sanchez.
Thank you.
Everyone out there watching, thank you for tuning in. Have a safe night, everyone. This is episode 59 in the books. Good night, everyone.
Good night.